This lesson, we're going to be building out a list of commands so that when you press the key codes, it's not going to move immediately and we can run all of the commands afterwards. So we see in our current example, as we press the arrow keys, element moves around the page accordingly to whatever arrow key we've pressed. So we want to add in the ability to create a list of commands. So let's create that, and this can be called my function list. And right now this is a blank global object, just like the my block. We're going to create an element in order to house and so that we can visibly see all of those commands. So within the my function list, just as we did with the my block, using document create element, and the element that we're creating is going to be a div, and we're simply going to be appending it the same thing that we did with the my block, where we're appending it to the document body, and that's going to give us a container in order to deposit the commands into. And the way that we want to do this is we want to have a list of commands, and we're also going to create a global array that we can add all of the commands in. So the array will be called funList. So the idea is that every time one of these keys is pressed, we're going to send that information over to a function. And the function that we need to create is going to be called add fun. And what this is going to do is this is going to add that function information into the array, as well as show it visibly. And then when we press the arrow key, the space or the enter key, then we're going to run all of the commands. So we'll be able to build out a list of the directions that this element is going to move, and then run that. So we'll see that we can invoke all of the different functions and run them sequentially. So instead of going left, we're going to send this information over to add fun, and we're going to just send in the information left. We're going to do the same thing for right and up and down. So all of them are going to get the information now being passed into the array, as well as storing it to be added in and run at a later point. Passing in all of these values into the add, and the first thing that we want to do is take funList, and we're going to push whatever the value is into the array, and we'll console log that information out. So we'll console log out the value of funList. So now whenever I press any of the arrow keys, you can see that they're being added into the array. So that's the funList array there. We also can remove out the tracking of the key codes in the console, because we don't need that at the moment. So next thing that we want to do is we want to output it visually. So we already created a container to do that, and that's going to be the my function list element on the page, and we want to add this visually to that element. So we're pushing it into the array, and let's create a span. So using document create element, creating a span element, and we're going to attach some text into it. So it'll be span, adding in some text content into that. And what we'll do is we'll just add in whatever the value of val is. We can also apply some styling, adding in padding to that. So do 10 pixels of padding for each one of those span elements. Also a border so that we can distinguish the different ones. So 1 pic, solid, and we'll make it a really light color border. And then now we're ready to add it onto the page so that it's visible. So using append child method, append the span object to the page. So now when I press the keys, you see that they're showing up on the screen. And we also have a list of all of the different directions that we want to move within that array, the funList array. So we see them visibly, and we also see them within the array. Also, I wanted to add in the ability to hover over these elements, and we'll update the styling as we hover over. So this can be done with an event listener, and adding in the mouse over event. We're going to invoke a function, and this function is going to run, and it's going to update the current object or the span. So either one will point to the same object and update the background color. And we're going to turn the background color, how about we make it red? And then also this style color, and we'll set that to be white. So let's see what happens now. And now I need to enter in a bunch of these. Whenever I hover over them, you see that they go red. And we also want to add one more event listener for mouse out, so that we can remove the styling that we set up and reset it back to the way that it was. So adding in a background color of white and updating the text to be black. So let's add that in now. Now you can see that now whenever I hover over them, we've got this hover effect. that you can do with CSS as well as you can do it with JavaScript. And we're listing out all of the different directions that we want to move. So the next thing that we want to add in, and this is coming up in the next lesson, is the ability to run through these functions and run them as commands. So have that element moving, so it would go, whenever we're ready, we go right down, right down, right down, and have that element run the sequence. So that's coming up in the next lesson. So go ahead and add this into your project, the ability to see which arrows have been pressed, display it on the screen, and also add in that mouse over and mouse out effect.